My Odogo, please give me a child. I feel lonely in this house.
My love, we don't need children. What we need is sweet love. Wayoma.
They said a man who fears time more than death will one day lose everything he loves. Chief Ebuka did not believe them. In the land of Umuagu, where red earth kissed bare feet and moonlight told secrets to the elders, there lived a woman so beautiful that even the gods were rumored to pause when she passed. Her name was Adama. Men forgot their errands when she walked by. Women compared their mirrors to her reflection and sighed. Children stared openly, unashamed, as though beauty was something meant to be studied. Adama was not only beautiful, she was softly curvy, full in all the right places, with skin like freshly poured palm oil and eyes that carried both kindness and quiet sadness. And she belonged to Chief Ebuka. Ebuka was a powerful man, rich in land, titled by the elders, respected and feared in equal measure. But above all his achievements, there was one thing he was most proud of. My wife is the most beautiful woman this village has ever seen. He said it often, too often.
My wife is the most beautiful woman in the village. Look at her grace. She is mine.
Oh, my
He
love.
praised her beauty at meetings. He boasted about her at festivals. He warned young men with his eyes before they even finished greeting her. No one was allowed to look too long. No one was allowed to compliment her openly. And Adama was never allowed to forget that her beauty was the reason she was loved. But what the village did not know was this. Chief Ebuka was terrified. Terrified of time. Terrified of childbirth. Terrified that one day pregnancy would steal the body he worshipped. So when the elders began to ask the question that followed every marriage, when will we hear the cry of a child in your compound? Chief Ebuka's smile always froze. That night, under the dim glow of an oil lamp, he finally said the words he had been rehearsing in his heart. Adama, he said softly, touching her waist as though afraid it might disappear, I do not want you to get pregnant. The room went silent. Adama laughed at first, thinking it was a joke. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw fear. Deep, selfish fear. I want you to remain like this, he continued. Beautiful, untouched by childbirth, forever admired. Adama swallowed hard. But Ebuka, children are... He cut her off gently, placing a finger on her lips. I have enough wealth. I have titles. All I want is you, the way you are. Outside their compound, the moon watched quietly. And somewhere in the village, wisdom stirred. Because decisions made in fear always demand a cruel payment. The elders of Umuagu were not blind. They had lived long enough to know that when a man avoids children, it is either because he fears poverty or because he worships something more dangerous. Beauty. It started quietly. At the next new moon gathering, when palm wine flowed and kola nut was broken, Elder Nwankwo cleared his throat and looked directly at Chief Ebuka. Ebuka, he said, voice calm but heavy, a compound without children is like a drum without sound. Laughter followed, but Ebuka did not laugh. Another elder leaned forward. A man does not marry beauty alone. He marries tomorrow. Ebuka forced a smile. My wife is well, he replied, and we lack nothing. The elders exchanged glances. That same week, women began to whisper at the stream. Have you noticed Adama's eyes? One asked. They are smiling, but they are tired. She has been married 3 seasons now, another said. No child, no pregnancy, nothing. When these words reached Adama, they stung, not because they were cruel, but because they were true. That night, she knelt beside her husband's mat. Ebuka, she said carefully, people are talking. He frowned. Let them talk. But the elders, they do not live with you, he snapped. They do not see you the way I see you. He pulled her closer, tracing the curve of her waist with pride. You are still perfect. he whispered, and I will not let childbirth take that from me. Adama closed her eyes. She loved him. He had rescued her from hardship. He treated her gently. He praised her openly. So when he added, "You agreed to this, didn't you?" She nodded. "Yes," she said quietly. "I agreed." But agreement made out of love is not the same as agreement made out of peace. Days passed, then months. Adama watched other women's bellies grow. She carried babies that were not hers. She attended naming ceremonies and smiled until her cheeks hurt. At night, she would sit alone and wonder, what will remain of me when beauty fades and there is no child to call me mother? Still, she kept her promise, until loneliness began to speak louder than love. Chief Ibuka's love for Adama did not soften with time. It tightened. Where he once admired her beauty, he now guarded it. Where he once trusted her, he now watched her. "No rapper should expose your waist," he said one morning. "Do not greet men too warmly. Do not stay long at the stream." At first, Adama obeyed without complaint. After all, she told herself, this is love. But love that locks doors eventually becomes a cage. The village began to notice. Adama no longer danced freely at festivals. She walked with her eyes lowered. Her laughter became rare. Yet Ebuka continued to boast. At a wrestling festival, he raised his cup and declared, "My wife remains the most beautiful woman in Umwagu, untouched by childbirth, untouched by time." The crowd cheered. Adama forced a smile. That night, she cried quietly into her mat. She was praised everywhere, yet felt invisible in her own life. One afternoon, as she sat alone beneath the Udara tree inside the compound, Noi, a distant cousin of Ibuka, approached respectfully. He was sent to deliver kola nuts. "Greet you, my sister," he said, placing the basket down. She nodded politely, but unlike others, Anwoy did not stare at her body. He looked at her face. Truly looked. "You seem lonely," he said softly. The words hit her like thunder. No one had said that out loud before. "I'm fine," she replied quickly. He nodded, unconvinced. "Loneliness does not always shout," he said. "Sometimes it just sits beside you." Adama felt tears burn her eyes, but she swallowed them. From that day on, Nwoi began to pass by more often, never disrespectful, never lingering too long, just conversation, just listening, and slowly something Adama had buried deep inside began to wake. Not desire, hope, the hope of being seen as more than a body preserved for admiration. Meanwhile, Chief Ebuka noticed the change. Adama was quieter, distant, and fear returned to his heart. The same fear that had driven his first terrible decision, the fear of losing what he wanted to own forever. Loneliness does not arrive suddenly. It grows slowly, like a shadow that stretches longer each evening. Adama began to feel it most at night. Chief Ebuka slept beside her, peaceful and satisfied, while her own eyes remained open, staring into the darkness. She would rest a hand on her flat stomach and wonder what it would feel like to carry life inside her. Not because she wanted to trap her husband, not because she wanted to compete with other women, but because she wanted purpose. One evening, after returning from a naming ceremony where she had carried another woman's child for hours, Adama finally spoke. "Ebuka," she said softly, "do you ever think about what will happen when we grow old?" He sighed impatiently. "We will grow old beautifully," he replied. "You will still be admired." "But admired by who?" she asked. "When our backs bend, when our beauty fades, who will call us mother and father?" Ebuka sat up, anger flashing across his face. "I told you," he said sharply. "I did not marry you to ruin you with childbirth." Something broke quietly inside Adama. That night she stopped arguing. Weeks later, she met Nwoy again at the stream. He noticed her red eyes. "You cry often now," he said gently. She tried to deny it, but the truth spilled out. "I feel empty," she whispered. "I am loved, yet alone. I am praised, yet forgotten." Nwoy listened, and that was his greatest mistake. Because when a woman has been silenced for too long, anyone who listens begins to matter too much. "I want a child," Adama said suddenly, as though the words had been waiting years to escape. "I want someone to call me mother when beauty no longer speaks for me." Nwoy said nothing for a long moment. Then he replied, quietly and dangerously, "Every woman deserves that choice." Those words stayed with her. Days passed. Then temptation followed. It did not come as passion. It came as permission. When Adama realized she was pregnant months later, she did not rejoice immediately. She cried. Not because she was ashamed, but because she knew what it would cost. She had crossed a line she could never return from. And Chief Ebuka, the man who feared pregnancy more than betrayal, would soon face the consequence of his pride. The change in Adama's body did not go unnoticed. At first, Chief Ebuka thought it was nothing. Perhaps richer meals, perhaps rest. But as weeks passed, the truth stood before him like an uninvited spirit. Her breasts were fuller, her waist, once tightly guarded, had softened, and her steps carried a strange heaviness. One evening, as Adama struggled to rise from her mat, Ebuka froze. "Adama," he said slowly, his voice trembling, "what is happening to you?" She did not answer immediately. She had practiced this moment 100 times in her heart. Yet now that it was here, words felt too small. "I am pregnant," she finally said. The world went silent. Ebuka staggered back as though struck. "No," he whispered. "No, that is impossible." His eyes scanned her body in disbelief, not with concern, but with loss. "You promised me," he said, anger rising. "You agreed." Tears rolled down Adama's face, but her voice was steady. "I agreed because I loved you," she replied. "But love should not erase a woman." He shouted then. He accused her of betrayal, of shame, of destroying what he treasured most. "What have you done to your beauty?" he cried. "What have you done to us?" Adama stood up slowly, holding her stomach. "I did this because I was dying inside," she said. "I was alone while you admired me." The truth hit harder than the pregnancy itself. When Ebuka demanded to know who was responsible, she did not hesitate. It was Nwoy. The name fell like thunder. Ebuka collapsed onto a stool. The same man he trusted, the same house he ruled. That night, the chief did not sleep. For the first time, he saw the truth clearly. In trying to preserve beauty, he had destroyed loyalty. In fearing childbirth, he had invited betrayal. And in loving appearance more than purpose, he had lost both. Outside, Adama rested her hands on her belly. For the first time in years, she did not feel empty. News does not walk in a village, it runs. By morning, Umwagu knew. The chief's wife was pregnant, and the child was not his. People gathered in whispers. Some shook their heads. Others remembered the warnings they once gave. At the elders' meeting, Chief Ebuka stood alone. Elder Nwankwo spoke again, his voice calm but heavy. "We warned you," he said. "A woman is not a decoration to be preserved." Ebuka said nothing. For the first time, the man who once praised his wife's beauty could not lift his head. When Adama was called forward, the village expected tears. Instead, she spoke with quiet strength. "I loved my husband," she said, "but I was loved only for how I looked." She placed a hand on her stomach. "I grew lonely in a house full of praise." Ebuka finally looked up. "Why?" he asked her brokenly. "Why didn't you endure?" She met his eyes. "Because I'm human," she replied. and humans cannot grow old alone. Those words struck deeper than any insult. Chief Ebuka lost more than a wife that day. He lost his pride. The compound that once echoed with praise became quiet. The same mouth that boasted of beauty now tasted shame. Adama did not curse him. She did not shout. She simply left, not in anger but with dignity, as she walked away carrying the child he never wanted. Ebuka finally understood the truth he had ignored for too long. Beauty fades, youth passes, but purpose is what keeps love alive. He had tried to freeze time. Instead, he destroyed trust. And every time he heard a child laugh in the village, regret followed him like a shadow, reminding him that the thing he feared most was the very thing that could have saved his marriage. Moral of the story: when you love someone only for what they look like, you teach them that their deeper needs do not matter, and no matter how beautiful a cage is, no human being can live in it forever.